Welcome, welcome, welcome to Straight Talk with Shelia. Thank you so much for tuning in. I so appreciate you from week to week meeting me here at 6 o'clock. I am excited to touch base with you today. Today I have a guest in the room, and I'm not going to introduce him quite yet. I just want to get your attention for a minute and just ask you a few questions. How many of you want to do more? How many of you are struggling with what you think you were brought here to do, your purpose, and you're struggling? Things are just getting in your way. And there was a time that I was struggling, and I can remember clearly it was August of 2015. I jumped out of my own space and I dared myself to be more, to do more. And I went to train with John Maxwell. And while I was there, I was in a training room with about 40 to 60 people in the room. And the gentleman that was running the class, he asked us, "What is your gremlin?" And I knew what my gremlin was, but I didn't want to say it. And when I ask you guys, what is your gremlin? You may be thinking of that movie in 1984. I think that's 1984 for the movie Gremlin. But as I sat in that room and as I listened and my eyes welled up with tears, I knew what my gremlin was. My gremlin and your gremlin is that thing that gets in your way. It's that thing that you feel that you're not enough. It's that thing that makes you feel less than. It's that thing that could be considered your insecurity. And when I was asked, the tears kept running down. But today I want to dig a little deeper. And I have my son John here.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you.
Happy to be here.
And we are going to dig a little deeper today because I'm all about building your personal power muscle. I want you to be better than. I want you to do greater. I want you to see what's holding you back and face it head on. Today we're going to share and we are going to dive deep into the subject of the gremlin. So let me just share a little bit as far as what my gremlin was. And I shared it in the class. My gremlin was that as a young girl, as a teen, as a young adult, I made the choice of aborting. I aborted my baby. And I was struggling and I felt so insecure. I felt like if anybody knew, they wouldn't listen to me. If anybody knew, they would not understand. They would not extend the olive branch and give me grace. They would not be compassionate. But I was in that room, and when I got in that room, at first I thought it was a marketing course. And I was shocked to see the things that was being taught. It was trying to help me to get out of my own way. And I remember when I was brave enough to share with my son about my personal journey, and he said something to me. He said, and I don't know if you remember John, John said to me, "You know what, Mom? It is what it is. But look at it this way. If you did not go that route, it's possible we would not have met." And that just tugged at my heart so much, and that made me feel like you understood. You understood where I was coming from. And I tell you, one of my greatest cheerleaders, and I so appreciate you for that. And I promise I'm not going to cry today. But I just wanted to see the people that follow me every Sunday. I wanted to see the people who are behind me, cheering me on and helping me to jump, and I need to make those big jumps. I remember when I first, my book was published, and I said, "John, I have to put my whole business on Facebook." He said, "Mom, hit the button. You got to do it. You got to
do it sometimes."
So today I just wanted to bring you into my space. So that was my gremlin, my fear, because of the choice I made as a young adult. I felt that it impacted my life so much that I didn't think people would understand. But in that room, while I was in that room, there were people in there that were struggling with things, and me sharing my story in front of all these people gave them the bravery and the courage to share their story. So I want to ask you, have you identified your gremlin? You helped me with mine. So have you identified your gremlin?
I think I have a pretty good idea.
What is it? Tell me.
if I can be honest, it's probably perfectionism. It always creeps up and rears its ugly head. No matter, I've always been a very driven person and goal oriented, and I can go and achieve a goal, but if I didn't check every box, if I wasn't perfect down to a T, I wasn't happy. I wasn't satisfied, right? And instead of actually appreciating that which I have done, I allowed some small piece that was missing, even though the art was done, the tapestry was put together. What needed to happen fell into place. Just because it wasn't perfect. I wasn't happy, and it's something that has reared its ugly head in so many different arenas in my life, and it feels like it's an ongoing battle. And
really,
I don't know if that's I'm curious how you dealt with yours, right? Because it's something that I think that you've done a really good job of, right? I think when telling you to push that button, that was me telling myself that as well, right? Sometimes you just have to do that thing, regardless of what the result might be. But I'm still learning to this age.
How did you figure out that was a gremlin for you? Because this is that thing that keeps getting in your way. Did somebody point it out to you, or were you able to figure this out on your own? How did you figure it out?
A couple of ways, I think. So one, actually, especially to all of my men out there, go to therapy. If you don't, you should. I thought that was an incredible avenue for me to be able to explore this, right? Through working with a therapist, I was able to look at the mirror into myself and have somebody kind of help me gain this new perspective and understand what that issue was. But the other thing was just in the action of life, right? I would be winning, I would be checking off goals, and I would be doing better than many others, or better than sometimes my circumstances should even allow. And there was still this missing piece, this missing piece of happiness. And when I dug a little bit deeper, I was able to understand that, like, hey, this is something that you've been dealing with for your whole life, and it could cause you to there's different pieces of it, imposter syndrome and other things that we can talk about, but it can cause you to not find value in the beauty that you actually are creating.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that, because for me, it took me 35 years to own that thing that kept getting in my way. Every time I describe it in my book as like a turtle, you stick out your head and all of a sudden you pull your head back in, because it's like you're so afraid of what people are going to think, and you worry about this people-pleasing stuff. But one of the things that what you said, you just have to do it. You just have to look fair in the face and do it. I just have to press that button, right?
We were talking about that today. I think Will Smith had a video or saying, what's on the other side of fear? Nothing, right? Like at the end of the day, the result is going to be what it's going to be. The only way you find that out is if you actually jump. Sometimes you need to just take that leap of faith. And the result will fall where it is, especially with God behind it.
Yep, definitely. So the thing was, it was so important for me to identify what my gremlin was, because once I identified it, it was so much easier. But in that process, I was crying. And sometimes people don't realize that when you face your truth, it is very emotional. It calls you to be very vulnerable. But you have to face you. You have to love the you in the mirror. You've got to identify that thing that's getting in your way, because this gremlin doesn't just get in your way just for your personal life. It affects you in your work and in the things that you want to do and with your goals and stuff like that. And from the minute that I discovered that this is that thing that caused me to feel insecure, from the time I mastered that, now I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to help other women to just discover what it is that's getting in their way. And I'm so appreciative that my sons, you and Matthew, were able to kind of work with me and help me understand. As a mom, you encouraged me, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that. So the other question that I have for you is, what are some things that you do to manage this gremlin each time that gremlin pokes his head up? How do you manage it?
Well, sometimes I take a breath I meditate.
Okay.
I read. I call my mom, my coach. I'm lucky enough to have her on speed dial, and sometimes it's reading some things that just get you centered, or you listen to a special song that helps you break the pattern. But it's often a combination of those things. Yeah. But I've been very lucky to have you in my corner.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So for me, it's. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said read some books, because that's what I had to do. I had to read a lot. I went to seminars. I started digging deeper to find out more about me. What are those things that's underlying that gremlin behavior, and identify them, so that as they rear their ugly head, awareness is so important, to be aware as soon as it's coming to address it. So the next question I have, and we're going to be wrapping up soon, is why do you think it's important to know what your gremlin is?
If you know where you're going, that's the only way that you can get there.
Yeah.
And if you know what the issue is or what you're fighting, that's the only way that you're able to prepare to take that battle on. And so for me, now that I've understood this, now what am I going to do about it?
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said that, because now that I understood what my gremlin was standing in the way of me helping people. Because as a coach, I'm a people person. I love people. I love to interact with people. I want to help people get up. Because people, we fall down, but we got to get back up again. And I can't help them get up if I don't know how to get up. So whatever I teach, I have lived, and I continue to walk through that. So it's important that we understand that whatever we're teaching, we start with self first. We identify those things in ourselves. And I am so glad that Ed DaCosta asked me, Shirley, what is your gremlin? And even though I had the tears coming down, I was bold enough to say, this is my gremlin. We have to own that thing that makes us feel like we're not enough, that thing that gets in the way of progress, that thing that stops you from fulfilling your goals, that thing that I remember when you were little, I used to say to you, you are going to be great. And I remember we were in motor vehicles one time, and this gentleman looked at you and he said, this young man is going to do great things. And I tell you these stories over and over, not so much to motivate you, but because of what I see in you. And earlier today we were talking about we need to tell a person what we see they could be versus where they are right now. And identifying the gremlin is the first step. So where you are with that gremlin, it's like, okay, this is where I'm at. This is a rough spot. But where do I see myself from now? So now that you've gone to therapy, you're talking to someone that can mirror and help you identify, you become more aware. Look into the camera and tell those people out there what are maybe one or two things that they can do on a daily basis that will help them identify their gremlin and get past that thing that's holding them back.
One thing that's been difficult for me to really learn and practice, but has been pivotal in finding my gremlin, is to really just pause and take a few minutes, take a beat. In silence, right? Breathe. And, really search your mind, search your soul, and ask yourself questions, and eventually you'll find the answers to those questions. And then, meditate, that helps me clear my head sometimes, and helps me, push that gremlin back to the background where it's supposed to be. So just trying to be mindful and,
Excellent. I do practice some of those things too. Mindful is really great. Another thing that I do a lot of journals. I'm always buying you journals because I love journaling. I am so glad that my best friend introduced me to journaling, because just getting the thoughts out of my head, I can see it, and then I could strategize and say, okay, I need to do this and this and this, because sometimes we get so overwhelmed because all the thoughts are running around, and we start overthinking stuff, and we get in our own way. And not only do I do journaling, I'm a person of faith, and I know you're a person of faith. I go to God and I give him the things that I'm struggling with, needing direction, needing the path that I need to go on. So it is very important for you, my viewers, to identify your gremlin. I hope John and I have given you a few tips that you can use. You can like and share this video. If you know someone that is struggling, you can definitely reach out to me. I am your coach. I am your sister. pointing light to the treasure that I know that's deep down inside of you, and I know it's in you because it's in me. And you and I have been on this journey together, and thank you so much for always pushing me to be more, to do more, and to continue to shine. You're one of my greatest cheerleaders, and I know I am right behind you. Hey, hey. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you from week to week. Meet you here. Same time, maybe same place, I'm not sure. But thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day and God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.